Hi, it's Mark from Remarkable Speaking. I'm here with Wil Seto of Insync Physio in Vancouver, one of Vancouver's best physiotherapy clinics. And we're going to talk about something interesting, knee pain from kicking soccer balls. What's this all about, Wil?
Yeah, so quite often when we think about soccer injuries and we think of like a contact injury. And so with non-contact and you just have the ball and you're kicking, I can bring up a specific client that one of our physios saw and came in with just that. He used to be a more competitive avid soccer player. He used to play like Div 2, Div 1 soccer, but now just plays like a little bit lower level, but likes to maintain it once per week. Very active otherwise, rides a lot and runs for fitness. So this is actually really important in terms of understanding like what else you do. So that's why I'm bringing up sort of this profile, is because this specific type of injury, when you think there's no contact and the person experienced pain immediately on kicking a ball and there was no one near him, and he went to go kick the ball and just suddenly felt pain in the back of his inside of his knee. When he came into physio, saw the physio, and the physio like assessed him, asked him a bunch of questions of what he did first. And the other thing was that this particular individual had a desk job. So they sat, 8 hours a day and didn't do any stretching post game, didn't do any other mobility work. So loved to play soccer, go to the gym for weightlifting, light weightlifting, and ride his bike a lot. So upon assessment, turned out that there was no like anything sinister going on in terms of like a tear of anything, whether it was ligament, meniscus, or even like a muscle strain or anything like that. Those are the big concerns that patient had coming in seeing one of our physios. And so what ended up happening was that as we assessed it, it turned out that it was a hamstring tendon overuse issue. So more specifically, it's called a hamstring tendinopathy.
So you'd think that you mentioned he did some running. Is that not enough? Like what's going on that there's a tendinopathy in his hamstring into his knee?
Yeah, so when the physio looked at everything in the big picture, his running was like he wasn't generating power in his stride through his glutes and his big powerhouse muscles for extension because he wasn't able to extend through his hips. And so as a result of not being able to extend through the hips, and you could see it very clearly is what the physio was saying, is that when they assessed him on the treadmill on the gate, that he was basically, and this is the interesting thing, like he could still play. He's still playing. And, it's just like he gets pain the next day after playing. So that's the other presentation of his symptoms. And so he's able to play a full game still. He plays once a week, but it's just like it's not getting any better until he started seeing the physio and having this addressed. So he came in for a second visit and finally getting better because he's getting this addressed. So the other thing that needs to be addressed are those tight hip flexors, his posture. He's sitting a lot. We changed them up into like standing, but making sure that not only is he standing, but then he has that mobility in order to keep his hips open on the front side. And the activation portion, making sure that he's using his gluteus medius muscles, which is butt muscles, basically that stabilizes his pelvis, and then his gluteus medius maximus muscles, which are the muscles that help him extend his hip. And so if he's not activating those properly, then he's going to compensate and he's going to try and use other muscles. And then with him, he's trying to overuse his hamstring to compensate. The other piece of information that was really interesting is that he rolled over his ankle pretty badly about a year ago. And he didn't do any rehab for it because he's pretty proactive in his mind, and he just kind of did exercise and just got back at it and didn't have any problems until this more recent thing with his hamstring.
So if you're having knee pain when you're kicking the ball playing soccer, or it could be from your hamstrings of all things, and you need to get it diagnosed by experts. Get in to see the experts at Insync Physio. You can book online at insyncphysio.com. It's really simple. They have 2 locations, one in Vancouver, one in North Burnaby. Or you want to talk to a human, call them, 604-566-9716 in Vancouver, 604-298-4878 in North Burnaby. Thanks, Wil.
Thank you, Mark.